we'll sing it all the way through once, and then we'll start off over here with the first part, and then I'll bring in the second part where it's time for you people to start again. And that is number 1023 in your teal hymnals. And you'll probably want to look along because we're not broadcasting at this point anymore because we still don't have our projector working. So please look along in your teal hymnals at number 1023.
Welcome to the Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Chris Darnell, and it is my great joy to be gathering with you this day with Aisha Hauser. The Chalice Singers and John Hanson and Larry Jones are providing music, and Kai Schumacher is going to be lighting our chalice today. We're all very excited. Some great photos up front. And Aisha is going to be doing our Time for All Ages. Henry Sikora and Nate Mesnard are our tech experts bringing us together virtually. And for the gifts of all these folks, we are grateful. It is a blessing to be able to worship together and to be here with all of you today. If you are with us for the first time or the first time in a while, we are so glad that you are here. Taking time to share in this time together, to make some space in your life to attend to your heart and your spirit, to come together in community, please visit our website or scan the QR code in the pews to fill out a Getting to Know You welcome form so that we can send you our weekly electronic newsletter, the Westside Week. With it, it's full of information about upcoming worship services and other virtual activities. We hope that you'll be able to join us after the service for conversation and community, catching up with everyone and seeing warm, partial faces on this sort of overcast day. We gather today from many locations, and we take this moment to particularly acknowledge that our congregation resides on the traditional territory of the Duwamish people. In this acknowledgement, we recognize the Duwamish heritage imbued in the mountains, valleys, waterways, and shorelines that surround us all. May we nurture our relationships with our coastal Salish neighbors, especially the Duwamish people, and our shared responsibilities to this place. Let us take a moment to offer humble respect for this place and its peoples, and renew our commitments to the work of authentic reconciliation. Whoever you are, wherever you have come from, whatever the color of your skin, whoever or however you love, however your body moves and your brain works, however you identify, you are welcome in this faith community. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition has no test of faith, no creed or oath to swear. We instead have the promises we make to one another, commitments we make to healing a hurting world within and beyond our walls. Now, let's take a few moments to greet those around you in any way that feels safe, be it an eye smile, an elbow bump, or even just a wave. As you greet familiar faces, we also encourage you to extend a welcome to someone new. Giving that 30 more Do you have a
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just put my pictures over.
Yeah. You Unitarians, such a lively group. We are delighted to have us with us today, Aisha Hauser, MSW, who is an accomplished religious educator, facilitator, author, and advocate of equity and justice. She currently serves as part of the lead ministry team of the Church of the Larger Fellowship and is the president of the Liberal Religious Educators Association. She's a credentialed religious educator at the master level with a master's degree in social work.
Good morning. It is always a joy for me to preach for you all. You all have a very special place in my heart. One of my very first friends when I moved to Seattle, Washington in 2013 was Jade. She sent me a text message. We were both religious educators. And I'm very happy to say we are more like soul sisters now. Our opening words this morning are by the poet laureate, the first Native American poet laureate of the United States, Joy Harjo. Perhaps the world ends here. The world begins at the kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. So it has been since creation, and it will go on. We chase chickens or dogs away from it. Babies teethe at the corners. They scrape their knees under it. It is here that children are given instructions on what it means to be human. We make men at it, we make women, I will add, we make people. At this table, we gossip, recall enemies, and the ghosts of lovers. Our dreams drink coffee with us as they put their arms around our children. They laugh with us at our poor, falling down selves, and as we put ourselves back together once again at the table. This table has been a house in the rain, an umbrella in the sun. Wars have begun and ended at this table. It is a place to hide in the shadow of terror, a place to celebrate the terrible victory. We have given birth at this table and have prepared our parents for burial here. At this table, we sing with joy, with sorrow, we pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we are laughing and crying, eating of the last sweet bite.
In each week's service, we invite a member of the congregation to light the chalice of our shared Unitarian Universalist faith. Today, our chalice lighter is Kai Schumacher. Come on up, Kai. Lighting the chalice in a service sometime after turning 7 is a beautiful rite of passage in our Unitarian Universalist community. Kai is lighting our chalice for the first time today, and his biography and photo create another page in Westside's book of chalice lighters that goes back many years. He is joined by Jay Wild, a member of the RE planning team, as well as his mother, Megan. Kai Henry Schumacher is a 4th grader at Gatewood Elementary School. Some of his favorite things include horseback riding, gardening, and his dog, Scout. He also loves being with his family, taking road trips, and playing outside. He is a vegetarian because he loves animals. His favorite candy is Kit Kat, and his favorite people are his mom, dad, his older brother Evan, and Scout. Kai doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up, yet. He loves water and says, without it, there would be no food or life. As Kai lights our chalice, please join me in speaking the words of our congregation's affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity and fellowship, thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you very much, Kai. And when I asked him, we have to put the damper over the candle. Do you know why? He's like, because it needs to breathe. I'm like, oh, all right. So he already knows. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Kai.
Thank you, Kai. That was nice. He always does this little wave. It's sweet. So we're going to be singing O Come, O Come. O Come, Emmanuel, which is hymn number 225 in your gray hymnals. And in preparation for both the solstice and for Christmas, I think this sets a tone in a really beautiful, beautiful way. And this rewording of this traditional carol, in a sense, really speaks to sort of the Unitarian heart of looking from the darkness towards light and inviting, this experience that we've been having to shift into another experience. So we'll be having a beautiful solstice and Hanukkah celebration coming up before Christmas, but this is sort of a preparation for all of it, as far as I'm concerned.
Please rise in body or spirit.
Number 225.
Emmanuel,
Thank you to everyone in the chalice singers. It was so beautiful. I heard some clapping out there. It is now time for all ages. And just a little preface, today's RE includes several pieces. First, the nursery will be open to children 6 months to 4 years old, and that's located right over here. For all you 5-year-old to 12-year-olds, we got some piñata making activities today. I think we're pretty excited about that. Join Jade Lowry and Amaranta Santos in the social hall to build piñatas. And also parents, give them some time, okay? They might need a little extra time putting these awesome piñatas together. And 7th through 9th grade OWL is currently being offered to those registered from 10 to 12 in the fireside room. Okay, now that that stuff's out of the way, I invite all young and young at heart to hear Aisha tell the story of the Christmas truce.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to tell a story that took place in 1914, which was well over 100 years ago. Wow, I know. And it took place during a time, a World War I. Now, not every single country in the world was involved in this war, but enough were that it was called a world war. And at that time, there were no iPads, no cell phones, no people went far away where soldiers would build what were called trenches. And then one group would be on one side, and then there would be empty space, and then another group on the other side. So this story in 1914 takes place pretty much in Belgium, but along about 500 miles, where one side there were German soldiers, and on the other side were soldiers from England, from the UK. So in December, leading up to the Christmas truce that happened on December 24th, a lot of the soldiers were young, and so they had graduated maybe from high school or maybe whenever they turned 17 or 18. They thought war was going to be exciting, and they had heard tales of great adventures. Well, war is not exciting. It's pretty terrible, and it's pretty disheartening. And they went for months and months away from their families, and they would be sent to these trenches where they would basically be in mud. I mean, especially in the winter when it was snowing and raining and it was cold, and they'd have the other soldiers next to them. And leading up to Christmas, they would be missing their families. Would you miss your family if you were in a mud trench somewhere alone? Yeah, same, right? Or friends, people you loved, right? So they're cold, they're sitting in the trenches, and their families at that time were able to send them things. So the German families, they would send them candy and sometimes even little Christmas trees that they would put on top of the sandbags. And then the British families maybe were sending some candy also and gifts and things for their sons, because at this time only males were sent to war. Now, at one point, the Catholic Church said, hey, why don't you for Christmas stop fighting? And the general said, no way. We have to fight 24/7. Not a fan of these generals at all. And anyway, what happened was, leading up to Christmas Eve, the soldiers had been bored because without fighting, they're just kind of sitting there looking at each other if they're not trying to kill each other with guns. So at one point, they started yelling insults to each other. The Germans in German to the British yelling back in English. And then, Christmas Eve, they don't know where it started, but somebody started singing. They think it started from the German side by historical records. And maybe they started singing Silent Night, or maybe O Come Emmanuel. And then, British side heard the singing, and then they started singing. So then both sides now were not fighting, it was quiet, and then they were singing Christmas carols. Anyone want to guess what happened as they start singing? I'll repeat what you say, tell me. What do you think? Not yet. The guess was, did they start to fight again? What do you think happened?
Did they make a truce?
They made a truce. It was in the title. Sorry, trick question. Yes. The soldiers came out of the trenches and started exchanging the gifts that they got from their families. Somebody started a soccer game. And now, the generals weren't thrilled about this. And I wish I could tell you that this lasted for more than a day. But by some accounts, for 500 miles, there were soldiers laughing and exchanging gifts and singing and really celebrating for maybe about a day each other and a holiday and not fighting. And unfortunately, because humans being what we are, we couldn't possibly hold on to peace. This is why we go to a congregation. We're trying to figure out why we can't hold on to peace. At least this is why I am part of a faith community. So the Christmas truce happened, and I think for me it shows us that when given an opportunity to not fight and to be able to sing with each other, to exchange gifts, and to have a moment of joy, even in the middle of something called a world war, that we want to do that. That's actually what we want to do more than fight, right? But our fear makes us fight, and that's pretty sad. So as Unitarian Universalists, my invitation to you is to think about this story and think about the times when sometimes you're afraid of something, but you lean into instead courage and being kind and maybe exchanging gifts every now and then, maybe singing and being courageous. So that's my version of the story of the Christmas truce. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Well, why don't we also rise in body or spirit and sing our children out with As You Go. We hold you in our hearts as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious heart, we hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious love, we hold you in our love as you go.
What a wonderful story, right? Like to be able to hold on to that hope, even for it's one day. In a moment, we will engage in a collective act of generosity known as our offering. When we take time to actively support Westside UU and its many ministries with our gifts by check, text, or cash. Each month, we choose a community organization to share 1/3 of our undesignated offering gifts. That is, those donations not designated as your pledge contributions. For the month of December, our community giving recipient is Mary's Place. Now, because our Sunday worship schedule has switched to twice monthly, while we explore the next steps of our professional ministry, there are fewer opportunities to extend our generosity to our community partners. Please consider increasing your contribution in each service so that we can continue to support the work of those worthy organizations. Now, here's a little information about Mary's Place. Since 1999, Mary's Place has helped thousands of women and families move out of homelessness into stable conditions. Across 5 emergency family shelters in King County, they keep families together inside and safe when they have no place else to go, providing resources, housing, employment services, community, and hope. And as these baskets go around, I want you to just take a moment and think about how cold have you been the last couple days. Now imagine you didn't have a 4-wall structure hanging out outside of you. How would that impact you, your physical, your emotional, and your mental health? An organization like Mary's Place is one of those organizations that's attempting its best to address those families that are most vulnerable, most in need. So, you can give by text by sending a message with the $ and the amount you want to give to 616-404-5455. 4171. If you need to update your payment information, text update to that same number. For folks here in the sanctuary who prefer to share your gifts by cash or check, the greeters will move along us shortly. If you'd like your gift to be recorded as coming from you, please use one of the envelopes in the pews. Now, please enjoy the gift of music. We will be a shelter for each other with the chapel singers. Thank you for the gift of music. And thank you to everyone for giving as you are able to support Westside and Mary's Place. Your generosity of time, treasure, and presence are gifts that sustain us as a community. It is the tradition of our congregation to honor the joys and sorrows of our members and friends, neighbors, and loved ones. And on the first Sunday of each month, we show this display with a candle lighting ritual. For those gathered in the sanctuary, please feel free to approach the table from the side aisles, returning to your seat from the center aisle. For those joining remotely, if you have a candle available to you in this moment, I ask that you please light it to link your flame to the many flames in this space. That's perfect.
Each week, we come together as a congregation in as many ways as we can to connect and share what matters most. At this time, we make a collective space for holding our joys and our sorrows. We hold in our hearts the joys and sorrows that we have shared and not shared with those in our lives. Let us now, in a moment of silence, followed by music, hold in the tender vessel of our loving care all the joys and the sorrows, both known and unknown, of our beloved community. Let us also extend our compassion to lift up and honor the lives of our neighbors and our wider community.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding on. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this
I invite you to enter into a time of meditation. If you are comfortable, close your eyes or lower your gaze. If you are so moved, take 3 deep breaths. As you feel yourself sink deeply into your seat and your body becomes relaxed, be present in this moment. Breathe with intention. Notice your body with intention. Offer love to yourself, and as if it is a candle that radiates light and heat, spread that love around you. As you breathe, release any tension you may be holding in your body. Release tension you may be holding in your spirit. Know that you are here and you are not alone. Those of you joining us not in this room are also here with us. You are not alone. As you breathe, know that you are sacred and holy and whole. Take 3 more breaths, and when you are ready, open your eyes or lift your gaze. And return to this sacred space.
I asked our speaker today, Aisha, how should I go about writing my personal reflection this week? She told me, read Joy Harjo's poem, Perhaps the World Ends Here, which was our opening words, and write something that comes up for you. Today's theme is about finding joy and connection during such uncertain times. So I did a little light internet browsing and found the poem. The first line struck me. The world begins at a kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. I'm not a big fan of the holiday season. It's cold, it's dark, and it snows. And I'm a Southern California boy, and later a Minneapolis transplant. I could never see snow again, and it would be too soon. However, I was always a fan of the food. I don't know if you could tell. Roasted turkey, smoked ham, delicious sides, and the desserts. Oh, the desserts. It was the thing that brought everyone together. Gratitude and silence. Families and friends breaking bread, sharing our hearth and our home. However, the pandemic changed it all. Meals together became a thing of the past. Traditions lapsed. Gone was the sharing, gone was the community. Uncertainty surrounded every day and those connections we held so dear. They felt like a distant memory. But out of the heartbreak, human perseverance blossomed. People became creative. We started to bend toward joy. For my family, though the traditions of the past that we held on to went by the wayside, we instead started building our own new traditions. We started experimenting with different ways that we could be in sacred space together. We always wanted to cook a Christmas goose, so we cooked a Christmas goose. We always wanted to do a feast of the 7 fishes, so we held a feast of the 7 fishes. We baked, we boiled, we fried, we gathered. Out of uncertainty, we paved our own way to find joy and connection in this new world. We forged new skills. We laid new foundations. We built stronger bonds. We sang, we danced, we cried, we hoped. So I close with our opening words and the ending to Joy's poem. At this table, we sing with joy, with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we are laughing and crying, eating of the last of our sweet bite.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this returning. We shall learn to lead in love. change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
That is one of my all-time favorite songs. Thank you very much. The story of the Christmas truce is one that always, always breaks my heart. Because when given the choice, those who are following the commands of those in power who are not putting themselves in the trenches, choose joy, choose connection, but are told by higher-ups to do something different that results in death, right? Now, there's not exactly consensus. I tried to look online on exactly how the truce ended. It was just known that at one point, someone started shooting, and then it was over. They tried to replicate it in later years, and the generals made sure that never happened again. It seems that there's something in the human psyche that during conflict prevents us from encouraging peace and centering love. Humanity has been at odds with itself for millennia. This is not new. Fighting for resources and power has been part of humanity's existence since we evolved. However, it doesn't need to be this way. Just like we have it in us to destroy, we have it in us to heal, to connect, and to love each other. When I talk about love and centering community, inevitably I hear someone say, that's just not realistic. And I shrug and I always wonder why. Why isn't it realistic to want a more equitable and loving world? When I was growing up in New Jersey, I loved the Christmas season. The music, the food, the lights, all of it. The thing is, I grew up Muslim. My family didn't celebrate Christmas at all. Anything having to do with the holiday came from the public school I attended and when friends of my mother's would invite us to their homes. Christmas to me felt like a magical time. Even though it wasn't necessarily ours, we didn't have a Christmas tree, we didn't have wreaths or anything like that, there was still something celebrating it in the United States when I was growing up that was just simply fun and beautiful. These past few years, however, have been difficult for me to experience the same magic and joy during the holiday season. Now, when I married my Jewish husband, I made sure that we celebrated Christmas. So it was fun becoming a UU because it fit right along. However, since the start of the pandemic, it's been hard to make sense of much, and a feeling of existential dread seems to be hanging over humanity like the sword of Damocles. Climate change, the threat of nuclear war, mass human migration, and the rise of right-wing governments across the globe present what sometimes feel like insurmountable problems. The modern world can be exhausting, and the uncertainty of the times can leave us unsure on how to move through the day. Maybe that's just me. The modern world also offers gifts and opportunities for humanity to experience joy and beauty and love in so many ways. And the truth is, the only thing we can control in this chaotic world is ourselves. What we can do is learn to connect to ourselves and each other. The invitation here is to center and connect not only the invitation to connect to ourselves is one that is always available to us at any time of the day. Now, it doesn't mean we abandon the work of anti-racism and social justice. It's that we do this work as we hold on to our humanity. The work of dismantling systems of oppression do not fall on everyone in society equally. In fact, it is incumbent on those of us with privilege to be proactive in our work. Now, I know the work is daunting and overwhelming. However, when I feel like I am just about ready to give in to despair, I often think of the words of James Baldwin, who said, "I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive." So I choose to hold on to hope and look to those who have uncovered ways humanity can thrive during these times and not just survive. A few years ago, I learned about the book Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown, a Black activist and author, and who was one of our featured speakers at this past General Assembly in Portland, Oregon. Now, if you've not read the book, I highly recommend it. Brown was inspired by the work of the first Black female science fiction writer, Octavia Butler, and specifically the book, The Parable of the Sower. Brown uses the lessons from that book to inspire humanity to social change, to better care for each other through connection and care. She writes, quote, "In the framework of emergence, the whole is a mirror of the parts. Existence is fractal. The health of the cell is the health of the species and the planet. There are examples of emergence everywhere. Birds don't plan to migrate, raising resources to fund their way, packing for scarce time, or mapping out their pit stops. They feel a call in their bodies that they must go, and they follow it, responding to each other, each bringing their adaptations. Now, there's an art to flocking, staying separate enough not to crowd each other, aligned enough to maintain a shared direction, and cohesive enough to always move toward each other, responding to destiny together. Destiny is a calling that creates a beautiful journey. Oak trees don't set an intention to listen to each other better or agree to hold tight to each other when the next storm comes. Under earth, always they reach for each other. They grow such that their roots are intertwined and create a system of strength that is as resilient on a sunny day as it is in a hurricane." Brown goes on to ask, how can we, future ancestors, align ourselves with the most resilient practices of emergence as a species? Many of us have been socialized to understand that constant growth, violent competition, and critical mass are the ways to create change, but emergence shows us that adaptation and evolution depend more upon critical, deep, and authentic connections, a thread that can be tugged for support and resilience. The quality of connection between the nodes in the patterns, dare I say, love. And we know how to connect, we long for it, end quote. Now, the ideas in the book Emergent Strategy are not necessarily new, in that indigenous populations for thousands of years have learned from nature and how to live in balance with each other and with other living beings that provide water, food, shelter, and air. Indigenous populations in the Americas have existed by some estimates of well over 14,000 years, existed in harmony with the earth. In less than 1,000 years after colonization, life on planet Earth, due to climate change and the results of violent extractive capitalism, is in peril. And remember who were called the savages. The consequence of our modern world, and specifically the violent extractive capitalist society in which we now exist, is our disconnection from nature and disconnection from what keeps humanity alive, evidenced by the fact that even discussing climate change and how to mitigate our harmful impact is controversial. Learning to live in balance with the one and only planet in which we need to survive should not be controversial. I will repeat the words from Emergent Strategy. In the framework of emergence, the whole is a mirror of the parts. Existence is fractal. The health of the cell is the health of the species and the planet. I have been observing in the past few years how much it would serve humanity to expand our imaginations, both to what is happening now and how we could live. Now, to this end, there's another book I want to recommend along with Emergent Strategy. The book is Undrowned, Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Mammals. Right? It's a great book. It came about when the author of the book, Alexis Pauline Gumbs, posted on social media what she learned about different marine mammals from 2 guidebooks on the subject, the National Audubon Society Guide to Marine Mammals of the World and the Smithsonian Handbook, Whales, Dolphins, and Porpoises. Now, she found that while these books presented as neutral observations, they were also reflective of patriarchy, heteronormative ideas, binary, and ultimately other limiting notions that were projected onto what, upon further study, are deeply complex and remarkable mammals that live in the oceans and seas. Her posts became viral and caught the attention of Adrienne Marie Brown, who invited Gumbs to write the book, expanding on her learnings in what has now become the Emergent Strategy series. Now, Gumbs herself describes herself as a queer, Black feminist, love evangelist, and a marine mammal apprentice. Throughout the book, she dives deeper, see what I did there? Into not only the observables of what the nature books have reported, but also what they mean, and adding more nuance and the story of why, and one of connectedness beyond our imagining. Here are the chapter titles: Listen, Breathe, Remember, Practice, Collaborate, Be vulnerable, Be present, Be fierce, Learn from conflict, Honor your boundaries, Respect your hair, End capitalism, Refuse, Surrender, Go deep, Stay Black, Slow down, Rest, Take care of your blessings. Each of these chapters offer lessons from the magnificent and truly awe-inspiring lives of marine mammals, those that know how to keep themselves hidden from the forces that would destroy them, to those who sing to their offspring while still in the womb, and there is evidence that the song represents their name, and their parent and community learn their name and sing it to them as they grow. I invite us, people of faith, those of us who have embraced Unitarian Universalism, and those of us who haven't, to expand our imaginations of what is possible. What kind of transformation is possible to enrich our existence and promote equity, justice, and love? Remember, in the work of emergence, the whole is a mirror of the parts. Existence is fractal. The health of the cell is the health of the species and the planet. Now, again, for those who may be skeptical and think this is unrealistic, consider that history and the present has taught us that the imaginations of those with ill will seem to have no limits. Wiping out indigenous populations for profit, the slave trade, the Holocaust, caging children, mass incarceration, and criminalizing providing water for those migrating through the desert. The sad and tragic list of how we hurt each other is unfortunately long. Now, those of us who know the world needs to become a more equitable place and more just, we need to expand our imaginations as well. I was once walking with a neighbor when I moved to West Seattle a couple of years ago, who came here from a former Soviet bloc country. We were discussing politics, and he was explaining the problems of communism under the Soviet Union, and I was lamenting the problems of violent extractive capitalism. When I said that what the United States needs right now to start is universal basic income and universal health care, he said, well, it's complicated. I said, I'm gonna stop you right there. I said, you know what's complicated? Sending research equipment to Mars, keeping the International Space Station operating for years, sending humans to the moon. Those are complicated endeavors, and yet we find a way to spend all that money and find all those resources to do those. It is not complicated to care for each other. It's not complicated to share. We only need the will and the desire to center human care and love and not money and power. Humans need connection. This is a fact, it's not theory or hyperbole. We need to know that we can survive with each other and for each other. Our modern lives have created a narrative that only those with money or power are deserving of care, love, and survival. We are not beholden to hold on to these false and destructive narratives. As the holiday season is upon us, and no matter what you choose to celebrate, or if you choose to opt out of engaging with the holidays altogether, I invite you to remember that in the framework of emergence, the whole is a mirror of the parts. Existence is fractal, and the health of the cell is the health of the species and the planet. Seeking joy, love, and connection are acts of resistance in oppressive systems. I invite you to read the books I mentioned today and find other books and resources written by Black and Indigenous people, and honor the ways that they have resisted oppression and celebrated humanity. Let us decenter the human ways of existence that have lost sight of what we need to thrive and survive. I'm going to share an excerpt from Going Deeper, from Undrowned. This is the guide for diving deeper. Lessons from the sperm whale who can dive more than a mile deep. And it's chapter 15, Go Deep. What does it take to go deep below the surface of current events and social media reactions? What would allow you to look at what is under your actions and under that and under that? Sperm whales dive a mile deep. Maybe they can give us some advice. And the ocean itself has so many depth lessons. When you think you've reached the bottom, there is sometimes still deeper to go. Take a breath. A guide for diving deeper from the sperm whale. 1, breathe. We sperm whales can replace 90% of the air in our lungs with one breath. We can blow our breath 17 feet high. However deep you are breathing, breathe more and exhale longer. 2, take responsibility for your forehead. We, for example, have a head full of wax we can solidify like a weight to go deeper. We can melt it to become lighter than water and float. What is going on in your head? Be intentional with it. 3, hush. We stretch out our bodies 60 feet long at the surface and then arch our back facing down. Our tails come with us, barely creating a ripple. We are saving our energy for depth. This is not the time to splash. 4, be flexible. Deep in the ocean, there is pressure, a lot of pressure. It will press on your chest and your lungs will collapse. You will call it heartbreak. It is not. It is how what made you embraces you, reshapes you, welcomes you back. Let it happen. 5, be specific in your actions. When your lungs collapse, you will need the oxygen in your blood. It is deep in your muscles. It was put there by practice. Let your practice facilitate depth. It will be there when you need it. 6, listen. We listen underneath our throats, not with our ears. We listen across the planet. We can hear each other click from opposite sides of the globe. Though we may seem alone, we never are. 7, come back. You will know when it has been enough time in the deep. It can vary attuned to your need. Account for your nourishment. Direct your thoughts. Melt them down and make them light and return. I will again, and for the last time, repeat the refrain from Emergent Strategy. In the framework of emergence, the whole is a mirror of the parts. Existence is the fractal. The health of the cell is the health of the species and the planet. Remember, you are the cell. This community is the cell. Unitarian Universalism is the cell, and we have the tools and the resources to love and care for the fractals that make up the whole. And as we center love and liberation, may the healing fractals help heal our hurting world. I wish you all a very happy holiday season. Amen, blessed be, and Ashe.
Please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 1028 in your teal hymnals, The Fire of Commitment. Fire of Commitment. I'm feeling that fire going after that sermon. It's great.
Please remember when to be
Today was a service filled with hope and connection. We look forward to a season that reflects those same aspirations. As we bring our time together this week to an end, deep thanks to everyone who participated in this service, most especially Aisha Hauser and the Chalice Singers. As always, it's a pleasure and a blessing to do this sacred work together.
I did a whole sermon on how time doesn't make sense anymore when I was here last, so I agree, 2023 doesn't make sense. As Kai Schumacher releases our flame, thank you so much. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing words. Our closing words today are by a dear friend and colleague who passed away way too soon, Matthew P. Taylor, a Black seminarian who died at the tender age of 40. The change. I can feel the change coming like growing pains. I feel the change in my bones pulling me, stretching me, forming me into the true I am. Can you feel it? The change in our bodies as we adapt, grow, change. The weight shifting and molding to fit. This evolving body that we are in, guided by faith that this too shall pass. We can survive this because our ancestors survived. Can you feel them in your DNA? You, a mixture of their particles that was molded to fit your spirit. Change and shift, mold and grow, yet in some ways we stay the same. Amen, and blessed be.
Now join us in our fivefold amen.